Hi, Guelph Moms. This is a special edition of the Tamsen Connects Guelph Moms podcast. I went back and I looked at some of the requests people made on the poll when I asked what topics people would like me to cover. And there was a lot about anxiety, a lot. So, one of the things I've been studying and doing a lot of research on and compiling a lot of stuff about lately is, well, for the last few years actually, is confidence building. So, for me, confidence building is like a teeter totter with anxiety. So, your anxiety is high, your confidence is low, because I'm defining confidence as kind of that sense of trust and safety and a lack of fear. So, anxiety is fear. So I would like to talk about it more in terms of building confidence than reducing anxiety, partially because I like to frame it in terms of moving towards something positive. I also, because we're all based in Ontario, I need to be careful. I have a PhD in cognitive psychology, but I'm not like registered to be, I can't even call myself a psychologist. It's the Ontario law is very, very strict. So I need to be sure, a disclaimer, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor, I take an educational approach. So I'm going to convey to you some information I've gathered from my own research and organized in a way that I hope you will find helpful. So I just want to go through a few things that people said they would be interested, that I think are relevant to my to this podcast episode. And I do have notes. So for people watching the video, yes, I do have notes, and I'm going to be looking down sometimes to make sure that I try to be concise. So I do tend to tangent too much if I don't have notes. So I'm going to go over some of the things that people were talking about that I want to help you with. I have 5 sort of main things to consider that working on them might help build your confidence. And then I've got 3 free resources that I want to let you know about. Two of them are now available, one of them is coming soon. So I'm just going to get started. I always like to start about something about being grateful for being a mom in Guelph. And this isn't just true of Guelph, I suppose, but I'm just looking out my window and seeing this huge, great, big red maple tree. And I really think we're lucky here in Guelph that we have so many great green spaces and parks, and it's just really, really a beautiful place to be a lot of the time. I remember someone in the group posted a picture, I think, of Exhibition Park, just because it was such a gorgeous picture. So I know that there are at least few other people who agree with me that the colorful trees and stuff make this a really beautiful place to live. Okay, so let's get started on my suggestions for some first steps in building your confidence, but I just want to talk about the questions that were asked. So topics people wanted to cover that I kind of see as related to anxiety. There was talking about shaming. So not feeling safe, feeling judged, I think is part of not having confidence or not being able to feel safe. Feeling guilt about asking for help, same thing. Some social anxiety, how to meet new people. There were some practical issues, but I think there was also some stuff about being anxious about meeting people. And there's helping your children, helping anxious and nervous children. So some of these techniques are that I'll be talking about with you are very easily transferred to trying to help other people, including children. Anxiety in general, people just worried about the pandemic, worried about getting sick, giving birth, and being pregnant and giving birth during a pandemic, a little bit of anxiety around that. And family pressure to get together when it's not safe. Things about balancing life, overwhelm, no separation between work and home life now, making people feel a lot more out of control. So all of those things, hopefully I will be able to help you with a little bit today, or at least I can't reach out there and help you and fix you, and that's not what this is really about. This is about some things that you can do to help yourself, right? So I focus on emotional health mostly. So I'm going to start there. Just some basic things about this is a very emotional time. So I have training in grief recovery, and this is a grieving experience. The pandemic is a grieving experience for all of us because it's about loss. Grief is about loss. We've all lost part of the familiar. So even if we haven't had a family member get sick or ourselves get sick or die or lost a job, all of these things people kind of recognize as losses, loss of the familiar is still a loss. And I think a lot of us feel really unsettled, and there's a lot of up and down emotions that is actually totally normal in a grieving experience. But maybe just me helping you make that connection that it is a grieving experience might help you understand that what you're feeling is totally normal. Okay. So we're all probably also feeling conflicting feelings, which are also normal. So some of us, like my son loves being home. He does, it's easier on me because I don't have to fight to get him to school every day. We're doing online learning. So in some sense, he doesn't want to go back. So it's not all bad, but we are also very worried about getting sick. So there's all this, some good stuff, some bad stuff, and it just feels like a very tumultuous time, and it is. And just to some extent, just being okay with that is a huge piece of emotional health. Just feeling your emotions, not trying to push them away, accepting them for what they are, and that emotions are meant to come and go, and that this is a very difficult time. I think that it is, we often get these messages that we should just be able to think positive and think ourselves better and feel the fear but do it anyway, basically beat any negative feeling down with a hammer, and that is not at all helpful. It tends to what is called emotional amplification. If you push something negative away to the extent you can, to the extent that you actually can manage that, it tends to come back more because it's got something to tell you. So so those are some real basic things about being okay with your emotions. So that was number one. Number two is your body. So for confidence, for me, I get the hangries. One of the things that I really found for myself, I feel unsafe when I'm hungry. My body tells me I'm starving to death, I'm dying. I get very agitated. I don't feel calm or centered. I get impatient. I have a hard time being patient with my son. Whereas if I have taken care of my body, I've gotten enough sleep, I've had some food. For me, I can, if I'm getting that feeling, I can have a handful of almonds and feel like myself again in like 30 seconds. So I don't know what this is for you, but as much as you can, and I know for people with small kids, getting enough sleep is like a pipe dream. So I'm not trying to tell you that it's hopeless if you're tired. I sympathize and empathize with being tired because thankfully my son is 9. I'm not tired all the time anymore, but to the extent you can, listen to your body and treat your body well. For you, it might be trying to get a bit more rest. I'm not telling you don't eat chips, but making sure you listen to your body and drink enough water to the extent you can. Some of us are just so busy, but I remember being so busy that I didn't even check in with my body and understand what I needed. And that was a really difficult, that made my anxiety a lot higher. I think especially when I had postpartum depression, it was a contributing factor to why I felt so horrible all the time. So this is going to be individual to you with what your body needs, but consider that that might be part of something feeding into any anxiety you have, and that taking care of that might help increase your confidence. Relationships. There were a couple people who mentioned things like stress with family, or even just needing to meet more people because they just moved to town, but it's a pandemic. There's no moms groups and things like that. One thing about the relationship between relationships and emotional health, from evolutionary psychology, so this is just a guess. Evolutionary psychology is just a guess based on why we do now because of how we evolved. But we evolved the hunter-gatherer type society that we had during the major part of evolution as human beings. We evolved to in these tight-knit, relatively small groups, and we relied on each other to survive. So we developed hard wiring, including a lot of our emotions, to keep us tightly bound to other people in the group, because if we weren't, we were going to die, because it was almost impossible to survive as an isolated individual. So now, in the world we're living in, we don't have to see anybody. We can order our groceries online. We can work remotely. It's quite possible we live in a world where you wouldn't have to interact with anyone. So it's maybe hard to see why we could be very, very unhappy and feel unsafe doing that. But if you think back to needing to be close to other people to survive, we are programmed to feel very afraid. This can manifest as depression as well, sad, afraid, lonely, if we don't have those tight connections. So there's also a lot of independent, I should say, individual differences between people in how much social contact you need. Like there are introverts and extroverts, and that's true. But I've heard from more than one person who's introverted saying they loved the beginning of the pandemic, and now it's driving them crazy because they love their alone time, but now they're finding they really need people, and it's really hard to get together with people. So understanding that even for me, Zoom calls and phone calls have been enough. I'm a very social person, and I'm almost surprised that I've been doing so well with just video calls. Some people might not so much, but realizing it's important. The other thing about relationships is that boundaries are so important. It's not just having any relationship. It's feeling that somebody or a group of people accept you for who you are right now. They aren't judging you. They aren't expecting you to be somebody different. I have a really good friend that when I talked to this about with her, she realized her biological family does not accept her for who she is. And she needs, whenever she feels that need to feel connected and feel accepted, she needs to not look for it in her family. She needs to go to her friends. Thankfully, I'm one of them, who do value her and love her and accept her just as she is, entrepreneur and all. And then she can feel solid and grounded. And she can't ask her family to do that because they just aren't going to. So making sure that you have those kind of people in your life. This is one thing why I love Guelph Moms Supporting Moms, and what I try to bring into that group with how I run it and the culture that I try to have there, is that we all respect one another, and this is a place where you can come to get help without a lot of judgment. So you can do it as a community, and you can do it with individuals as well. But that feeling of connection is going to be something that, if you don't have it, it's going to really feed into a feeling of lack of safety. So doing what you can in a pandemic, it's maybe difficult, but finding a place where you can feel connected is really important. And hopefully in the Guelph Moms Supporting Moms group, we can help you do that if you don't have any other way to do that. Spirit and purpose. I'm calling this, so the fourth thing, spirit and purpose. I'm calling it, I tend to think of it as spiritual, but this is not, I'm not talking about religion. It could be religion for some people. I'm talking about connecting with something bigger than yourself. So for me, the funny thing is, connecting with my community is part of my meaning and part of my purpose, and something, my community is bigger than me. So in connecting with Guelph Moms Supporting Moms and some of the other communities I have, this is something that helps me understand that I'm here for a reason, and that I say what you need to do is find the thing that even if things aren't going to be okay, even if things aren't okay, either they will be okay, or you were here for a reason, because we're all going to die. Like, it sucks, but I mean, I don't like thinking about that, but I can look at something like Guelph Moms Supporting Moms. I feel successful that I have helped people every day by having that group, and that hopefully I would be missed if I were gone. So my being here has a reason. And the fifth thing, the power of your mind. So as a cognitive psychology person, what really got me hooked on cognitive psychology was the fact that we have the experience that our what we see, what we hear, is more or less a direct reflection of what's going on in the world. We are not aware of our own filters, and we're not aware of how much stuff we actually don't even notice. So it's a very powerful tool, and to me, the best tools that help us adjust our confidence level, anxiety level, help us make any change we want to make, has to do with how easy it actually is to change our experience. So instead of going on about that, what I would love for you to do, if you would like to find out more about that, I'm going to talk about my resources now. So I have a membership site called the Meta Community. I will put links wherever I post this so that you can find these things. But on the Meta Community, I have a free weekly theme. And the pinned post in the weekly theme has a really cool quick video showing you that you don't actually experience what is really true. So I'll just leave it at that, some suspense if you're interested. And in that group on it's through a platform called Tribe. So I can create groups. So I've created a group for a weekly theme. That post is pinned as the explanation about what the theme is about. And then every week I go on and put a new kind of theme for the week, something to help you build your confidence that you can focus on for that week. Because focusing on something brings more of it, it brings more of it into your experience. I'm not saying it manifests more out there in the world, but you notice things more. So it can hugely change your experience without actually changing the external world. Two other resources before I go. Journaling. So journaling is a tool. It's a very useful tool for any sort of self-discovery, growth, releasing things. And a friend of mine, Kimberly Ravando Robb, came and did a presentation, and I've taken it's less than 10 minutes. I've taken a chunk of it that it was an hour and a half conversation, but I got her to summarize how to start journaling. So if you are interested in that, if you've thought about journaling but aren't sure, she talks about different types of journaling. If you don't like to write, there are other options, what supplies you need, what you might want to think about. Things like location that you should think about, making a set time to make it a habit. So just a really quick introduction, but if you have sort of heard about journaling or and aren't sure about how to start, or if you just would like something to do to start, I think you can watch that video in less than 10 minutes. You can one of the key things is you can probably start with things you already have. And if all you can do is journal 5 minutes a day, I still think you're going to find some results from that. So I wanted something for you that could be quick to learn, quick to implement, something that didn't take a lot of time, but especially if you use something like the weekly themes as a prompt to guide your journaling exercises, then you can reap some really big benefits fairly quickly, I think. The third thing, my friend Eleni Capitanios, she's also a member of this group. We are looking at putting together a course, kind of like Kimberly and I did for journaling, for meditation and hypnosis. So Eleni is trained in NLP. She's a breakthrough specialist. And if you're interested in this, and I have not updated with where to find that class, she has a Facebook group where you can find some of her resources, a free Facebook group called Creating Calm in Chaos. She changed the name recently. So she provides things like hypnosis and different things to think about. So if you want that free resource as well, she's awesome. So go check that out. So I hope this was useful. This was usually for the podcast. I much prefer an interview style, but I didn't want to let the opportunity go, since I have been doing a heck of a lot of research about how to increase your confidence and reduce your anxiety. I felt that it was hopefully going to help you if I share some of that. So just a quick, hopefully those 3 resources I mentioned, I will try to link wherever I post this. And quick summary for increasing your confidence and reducing your anxiety. So pay attention to your emotional health. Remember what you're feeling, accept what you're feeling, listen to it. Hopefully then it will go on its own. If you try to push it away, it'll tend to come back even stronger. And we are in a time that is emotionally very difficult. We've lost the familiar. Obviously, there's a lot of day-to-day stresses and pressures from that, and it's just a lot of uncertainty. And we're probably also experiencing conflicting feelings. So if you sometimes feel great and sometimes feel bad and are having trouble figuring out what on earth is going on, conflicting feelings, totally normal. Okay. Your body. Number two, your body. Pay attention to your body. Give your body what it needs as much as possible within reason. For you, things you're going to have your body's going to have unique needs. You might need more water, you might need more sleep. I hope you can get it if you do. Different foods, or for me, if I get hungry, I get very, very anxious and overwhelmed and irritable. So pay attention to what your body is telling you and check in, because that can actually hugely affect your emotions and your ability to stay calm. So your emotions, your body. Number three is your relationships. You need relationships. You need a feeling of connectedness to feel okay. So realize that it's really important. Realize that not everyone is going to be capable of the kind of relationship you need. You need to be accepted for who you are and not feel like you have to be someone else to meet someone else's expectations, or you're going to be rejected. Hopefully the Guelph Moms Supporting Moms group, I've tried very hard to make it that kind of community. So come in and say you need help if you do. Okay, we're going to try and be there for you. Number four, spirit or purpose, connecting to something bigger than yourself. Again, this is hugely individual. You may find it in a spiritual practice or a religion. You may find it in your family. You may find it connecting to nature. There are a whole bunch of different things, but connecting to something bigger than ourselves, I think, is how we have a foundation to deal with uncertainty, because if we don't know what's going to happen, we have to have something bigger than ourselves to look to know that everything, even if it's not going to be okay, it's still in some sense going to be okay. And then the fifth one is just understand that you have a lot of power in your own mind to change your experience. Your experience is not just a reflection of everything that happens to you, that you have no control over how you interpret it. So with that reminder and review, I hope this was really useful. I'm going to try to come back soon with more interview style podcasts from other members of the Guelph Moms Supporting Moms community. If you have any questions, feel absolutely free to reach out to me. If you have comments about how the podcast could be better, what you liked about it, if I shared something that was very helpful, I would love to hear that. It's always nice to hear that when you do something that helps somebody. And I hope you're having an okay time. I know that, and it's okay also if you're not having an okay time. You can reach out to us in the group to share good things, to share struggles, and I hope that we are always going to be there for each other. So thank you very much.